Wow, that was powerful. I may as well go home because I feel like I was already inspired. Oh, you set me up. Oh, okay. So since our musician slash practitioner gets to be a little real with you, do you mind if I share my humanness too? Because, being a minister just means that, I studied for 8.5 years, right? What else? So you still got to put it into practice, right? So I want to share with you my 4th of July crazy, okay? But just remember that our message this morning is who's in control here, right? Who's in control here? And so, okay, 4th of July. I had it all planned out because my daughter's away in Hawaii, and so my son's going to be home. First time he's been home in like 5 years because his dad's birthday is always near the 4th of July, but he was having FOMO. Do you know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. So like all his friends were like, let's go skating, and he was at his dad's in like Arrowhead, so he's like, Mom, you gotta come get me, And so I was like, okay. So I got him, and I said, oh, we get to have 4th of July together. That's so cool. We haven't done that in so long. So I had it all planned out. We're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here, and we're gonna do this, and it's all set up. So I tell the boys, my husband and Gabe, I said, okay, we need to leave the house by 9 or 8:40, okay? We need to leave the house by 8:40, gotta be somewhere by 9 so that we can be somewhere else by 10. Okay, we got this. I got my list and everything. And so they're like, okay, wake us up at 8. So, because guys always think like they don't have hair, so it doesn't take them any time to get ready, right? So I wake them up at 8, and they get in the shower, like say 8:20, and they're both in the shower at 8:30. So I knock on their door, we're leaving in 10 minutes. And I'm like, my goodness, do they really think they're going to be dressed and ready in time? Yes, they do think that, but they were not. And so... So then my inner self is like, I like to be in control and have everything go the way I want it, and I do it precisely so that everything will take place, and I'll have all this fun with my son that I haven't had in 5 years, whatever. Okay, so all this is going on in my mind, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, now we're already 20 minutes late, but I need coffee. I can't continue this day without coffee. You guys have already tired me out. So Michael's like not into the Starbucks drive-through, okay? He and I like are on different sides of the world about this. So he goes, order, and then we'll go in. But make sure you order at the Garfield one, not the Golden West one. I was like, oh yeah. Okay, so I'm ordering, and so we get to the Garfield one, and they go in to get the stuff, and it's like 20 minutes goes by, and I'm like, what's going on? Inside I'm like, I'm in control, what's going on, And so they come out, they're like, Gabe's like, hey, they gave me a free chocolate croissant, but they said they didn't have our order. And I was like, and Michael goes, well, just check and make sure you didn't order at the wrong place on accident. And I said, Michael, do you not think I'm smart? Why are you questioning my intelligence? And so he's like, fine. He's like, why are you so grouchy? I'm like, because we're late for this, you guys, And then I look, and I saw Golden West, and I thought, oh, gosh. And I really didn't want to tell him that he was right. And so I go on and on about how the brain automatically assumes something because it saw a GA and not a GO or whatever, and it's not my fault, it's the brain's fault, It's this primordial thing we do. And so they're like, and so then I call the person, I'm like, I'm sorry, we're running late, and they're like, oh, it's okay, I'm late too, And I'm like, why am I the one all uptight? And everybody else is so relaxed about everything. And then I live in Huntington Beach downtown, and everything's blocked off. So it takes you like an hour to get from one side to the other. And so we're like trying to drive to the other Starbucks. And then I said, forget it. So we get to the place, and we're there, and then the person's just like, oh yeah, it's cool. So then we get to the other place, and then we're going to get groceries so that we can have the food and bring it back to where we're going for a little pool party. And then I have an electric car. And then my electric car doesn't have enough energy to get me back to Michael's car. So then we have to look for a charging station in Long Beach. And so the charging station that we went to was all filled up. And I said, well, how much longer? Because that's what we do with each other. We're like, hey, how much longer you got? How much longer you got? And they're like, oh, man, I just started. It's going to take me like 45 minutes. I'm like, oh, my God. So then we go to another charging station. We're like 4 miles left of energy, right? And it's already time for oh, okay. So they ended up getting groceries at the place where we stopped, and it was probably like $100 way too much because we had to stop at Mother's instead of Vaughn's or whatever. And so my whole day's like, wait, I had everything under control, and then it just went, right? And everybody else is all like chill and relaxed about it. I'm like, why can't I be like that? You know, they're like, it's 4th of July, it's all good. And I'm like, inside. So then it reminded me of something. It reminded me, Hyder, are you here today? Because I don't see you. Okay, Hyder is one of our longtime congregants here, and one day he said, hey, Nicole, I was telling him I really like daily reads because I put it as part of my spiritual practice in the morning, and he said, you should read the Daily Stoic. And I was like, the Daily Stoic? Because in my Western mind, I think of a Stoic as like this person who has no feeling, and they just go through life and don't share any feeling with anybody, and, you know, they deal with their pain until I, loosened up my ignorance and Googled it and realized that Stoicism is actually like this amazing ancient philosophy that was created in it was an ancient Greek philosophy, like 3rd century BCE. And it's amazing and incredible. And it talks about, well, it's our book of the month, so it's over there if you want to get it. I love it. It talks about how the wise are the people who recognize the divine nature of things. Sounds like us, right? It says that we are not in control of anything except for ourselves and our responses. And that, right? Like Nicole, right? And that, you know, we're not in control of any external events or experiences, just ourselves and just our responses. And I was like, man, I'm really learning this message this week, you know. And so this Stoicism, it's kind of an amazing experience because it really is about letting go. It's about being here in the present moment, and it's about recognizing, it reminds me of Buddhism in a way, because it's about recognizing that we all have these impulses, and we can act on them and be like all manic, or we can become aware of them and decide whether or not we want to act on them. We just got finished with a class called Self-Mastery, and it's all about that. It's all about not becoming enlightened, but about becoming aware of our tendencies and our thoughts and our actions, and just trying to bring ourselves from being unconscious to conscious about it. So the 2 questions that this Daily Stoic says is to ask ourselves in any situation is, who's in control here, and what are the principles that are guiding me? Who's in control here, and what are the principles that are guiding me? Now, if I would have had this wisdom on the 4th of July, or remembered it, things might have been a little bit easier for me inside. Everybody else is having a great time, right? And then inside, I'm like, have you ever been that way? Are any of you like that? I know some people, like Chris, he's so chill, he doesn't care. He's like, what? You gotta have them to like balance out me, right? So this is what we're remembering. Who's in control here, and what are the guiding principles? What are my guiding principles? If right now I were to ask myself that, I would say, who's in control here? Spirit. Because Spirit is showing up as you and as me, and we're coming together. That's what's in control. And what are my guiding principles? Right now, my guiding principles are love and community and connection. And it's easy to realize, well, it's not easy to realize this, but if I were to have asked myself in the car when I'm, freaking out at my boys, who's in control here? I would have had to say, my little Nicole ego, right? My little Nicole. who's like trying to make everything perfect. And what are my guiding principles? Fear, anxiety, wanting something to be perfect experience for my child because I know he's a teenager and I think, how many more years will I have? You know, all that. It's like, it's just fear, right? It's fear, fear, more fear. And if I were to have asked myself that at that moment and become conscious of it, I might have been able to more easily shift it and let it go. Because then I could have said to myself, Nicole, who's really in charge here? Is it this divine intelligence that's like so amazing and incredible that it comes through me and you and everyone? And what are our guiding principles? That we're wholeness, that whatever happens, it's really okay, that it is what it is, and that people feel our love based on who we are and how we express it, and not if we get everything done in the right time frame, right? And it made me think of like the necessity for us to stand in the confidence of ourselves, of our true big S self, you know, that higher self that we are. What did I say? Didn't I say big S? What does that mean? Is there like a hidden meaning? Oh, big ass? Oh, no. That's Florette's fault. Oh my gosh. This is the best community ever. That's what you're laughing about? Oh my God. Okay. So we've got our big selves, our little selves. Where am I? Oh. So here's the deal. Okay, I'm already over. Michael's like, hurry up, Nicole. So I'm going to cut to the chase and just remind us these two what are the questions we're supposed to ask ourselves? Okay, who's in control here? And what are the guiding principles? Right. And so, Reverend Michael, you want to come and clean up my... I love you. Isn't he great? He's so sweet.
Next, first thing, July 4th morning, I'm handing this book to her. Oh, God, let me recover now. Who's in control? I hate to even ask this group that. But let me give you this suggestion. If you can be in control of anything, be in control of your mind. And let me start with a story about a genie. There's this couple that have been together 30 years. They're about 60 years old. And the genie comes, says, I'm going to give you each one wish. So he turns to the first partner. He said, what is it that you wish? You know, forever I've wanted this all expenses paid guided tour around the world with my beloved. So the genie, being a good genie, boom, there's the tickets on the table with a bottle of champagne to go with it. And he turns to the second person and says, well, what can I do for you? The second person sort of sheepishly looks, saying, I hate to admit it, but I'd rather have my partner be 30 years younger than me. I can almost relate to that.
Giving away your age.
And the genie says, no problem. Boom, that person turns 90 and now he's with a 60-year-old. Let me get sorted here take with me just for a minute. So, these Stoic philosophers, and Nicole gave us a great representation, if you follow the Stoic philosophy, what not to do on July 4th. Because the Stoic philosophers study control a lot. And let me read to you what one of the great Stoic philosophers said about it. His name is Epictetus. He's summarizing it. Some things are in our control while others are not. We control our opinion, choice, desire, aversion, and in a word, everything of our own doing. We don't control our body, our property, our reputation, our position, and in a word, everything not of our own doing. Even more, the things in our control are by nature free, unhindered, and unobstructed, while those not in our control are weak, slavish, can be hindered, and are not our own. So one book that I study on getting things done says we need a top-down model of our overall goals, and we need a bottom-up model. In a way, their philosophy is a bit of a bottom-up model. They're observing the world. They're seeing things that change the external world. They're saying, don't go chase the external world. Go take care of what's within you. So in other words, if you want an ethical life to be demonstrated by everyone around you, what's yours to do is be that ethics. As Gandhi said, be that life that you wish to experience, and will unfold around you. And so he goes on to give us more direct guidance, Epictetus still. He says, the chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. So that begs on what we teach here every day, that good and evil are just constructs that we come up for ourselves. As Ernest Holmes tells us, we can stand in hell and reach up to heaven because they're both just states of consciousness. And so what these early Stoics were saying is, there's lots of things moving out there. And they saw themselves, we're not these priests up on a mountaintop. We're spiritual people walking with everyone else, boots on the ground, people around us. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus our control on what we know we can control. And one of the last great philosophers, he was also an emperor of Rome. His name was Marcus Aurelius. History brings him down as one of the last good emperors of Rome. And he goes on to illustrate further principles. He says, a rational nature moves freely forward in its impressions when it, 1, accepts nothing false or uncertain, 2, directs its impulses only to acts for the common good, 3, limits its desires and aversions only to what's in its own power, and 4, embraces everything nature assigns it. So he's hitting on some of the constructs that we love. What we do is for the common good. That speaks to us of what we believe in oneness, about we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. And if we do what's good for us, for the common good, guess what? Good will just naturally come to us. He also goes on to make this point about embracing everything that nature assigns us. So that means when we know we have something that is ours to do, we don't cower away from it. We step forward. We get support from our spiritual community. We put one foot in front of another and go do it. And the Stoics were all about not beating yourself up about what happened in the past. But unfortunately, most of us aren't so good at that. So most of us carry this bag of rocks around. We're trying to run and leap and have fun and skip. We've got this bag of rocks, and they're all from the past. One of the rocks is our regrets. Oh my God, how did I make such a bad choice? It's terrible. I'm going to have to pay for this for over and over again. Then there's mistakes. What was I thinking? How much money is that going to cost? What did I just lose in terms of relationships? There's another word called resentment. How dare them say that to me? They're going to pay, and I'm going to get mad about it over and over and over again because that's who I am. And then they speak about rejections. Oh my God, it was the perfect relationship. I'll never have another one like that. It was the perfect job that I felt totally at peace at. How am I going to ever create another one like that? It was a perfect house by the bay, by the ocean, by the desert. I'll never get another choice like that. Well, they will tell us that, why are you doing that? Because what they've told us before is if we concentrate on what we can control, do it for the common good, our life will really work. And flash forward, they were in the 200 to 300 before the Common Era time, so that's about 2,300 years ago. Flash forward 1,900 years, and then the New Thought movement comes. And there's this powerful lady called Emma Curtis Hopkins that taught every one of the spiritual leaders of the movement. And she takes that message and just takes it to the next logical step. And she says that if you focus on your mind, the only thing you have control of is your mind. So you create in your mind the concept that your good is your God. And you keep focusing on that. And guess what? You will project it outward. And now you will control external circumstances, but only if you start from where you are. And have the faith that's not dependent on anything external to you. So she says this, she says, we have only so much substance in us as we have faith in the good. We can control our destiny only so much as we have faith. So a nice, comfortable external circumstance never creates faith. It always has to work the other way. We have to have faith without any expectation of an external circumstance. We cannot have external circumstance give us faith. But if we have faith, guess what? Our life works. We create a life that works for us and for everyone else. So I'd like to close with a meditation from another famous Stoic philosopher. His name was Seneca. He's looking back on the life experience. He says this, it's not at all that we have too short a time to live, but that we squander a great deal of it. Life is long enough, and it's given in sufficient measure to do many great things if we spend it well. But when it's poured down the drain of luxury and neglect, when it's employed to no good end, we're finally driven to see that it has passed by before we even recognized its passing. And so it is, we don't receive a short life, we make it so. So my challenge is you today, take one of my R words that's still, if you're still thinking about it, still functioning in your mouth, in your mind, and in your life, whether it's regret, resentment, rejection, or resignation, and ask yourself the question we've told you to ask yourself here. Who's in control here, and what principles are guiding me in my life? Thank you.